Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I am the Custard Prophet and welcome to episode 1 of Football Manager Focus, a completely new series on the channel. I hope you are going to enjoy this. Now, for a long time I've been wanting to make some sort of instructional videos around FM to try and help people play the game better. Problem is I'm not particularly great at the game, so I came up with a bit of an idea. My idea was actually, why don't I just ask other people how to make you lot better at Football Manager? And that was where this came from. So Football Manager Focus, what we're going to do is focus on a particular area of FM, and I'm going to invite 3 other Football Manager creators, maybe not always creators, maybe some of you guys who aren't actually creators. We'll see how that goes, but 3 other people who love and enjoy the game of Football Manager and who are very, very good at this particular area of interest. We'll have a chat for 50 minutes or an hour or so, and hopefully you guys will learn something, and hopefully it will be a decent listen. Now, the great thing about this is because we are just going to be chatting via Zoom, that's the way I'm going to do it, you can kind of not even bother watching it and just have it on in the background, have a listen as we sort of meander through the topics. If there are particular topics that you think that we should be focusing on, well, why not just get down in those comments and drop me a note on what you would like to see an episode on. So in today's episode, as you will have seen in the title sequence, we are focusing on lower league management and how to be successful in lower league management. So whether you're starting out in a one club save at the bottom of the English pyramid, or maybe you're abroad in Germany, lower league Germany, or wherever, maybe you're doing a journeyman save, but you've got to start somewhere, and you're probably going to start somewhere with a fairly poor reputation. You have to deal with the vagaries of lower league management. So I've invited 3 creators who ply their trade for a long period of time down in those lower leagues, and I've asked them how they go about lower league management. Let's go and meet who we've got on the show. I have my 3 guests here, and they are very much ready to get onto this topic. So let's introduce them one at a time. We will start with a bit of FM royalty. Everyone thinks I'm talking about them, but clearly not the case. It's the top FM creator wearing a hat, of course. It's Bood FM.
Yeah, I'm the number 1 hat wearer.
And what does Omega Luke reckon about that?
He's only got about 3, hasn't he? So he's got no chance. He's got a lot of catching up. He does look good in a hat, but yeah, he's got a bit of catching up.
Fair enough. How you doing, mate? You good today?
I'm tired. I've got a 3-year-old and a baby, so I'm not getting much sleep. And then I've just been really, really busy. And I did my first ever double upload today, so that was a challenge. Oh. So I've just been on the computer and playing with my kids and changing nappies.
I remember those days.
Hence the drink.
It's well earned. It's well earned.
I've yet to experience any of that, so I've got one to look forward to.
I waited till I was 38, so I put it off and off and off. But yeah,
I've got a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. That's it. Yeah,
but that's fun.
It's they're past the nappy stage and the toilet training. This isn't what I was going to talk about at all, but there you go. Second creator that we've got here is he was the one of the first creators on my FM showcase. Not TTFM. You are in the second episode. ABomb. I think you might have even been first out. So ABomb FM. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I was the guinea pig.
You were.
I was the very first person. It was me, and I feel annoyed that I don't remember the other guy's name now. But I was the first person.
Cajun, wasn't it?
It was Minimabs, I think.
Oh, of course it was.
But I think he stopped creating. So
I haven't seen anything from him. I don't think so. I think he's disappeared. But yeah.
But that's good. And as we record this, you have a new series which is about to come out. I think by the time this comes out, it will have already come out. Do you want to say something about
that? I've just finished editing, actually. It's a bit of a sequel, I guess, to something that I did a couple of years ago. It was called Eastern Resurgence. That was with Berliner FC Dynamo, which was the team that got the most titles in East Germany back in the 80s. and I brought them back to the Bundesliga from Tier 4. So that was the idea with that. And so for this one, I've kind of taken that premise and moved it to Eastern Europe. So we're managing Steaua Bucharest in Romania. They're in the 3rd tier of Romania. So we're going to be taking them hopefully to the top and hopefully to another European Cup, their first one since 1986.
Nice. Looking forward to that one. And finally, of course, it's Plymouth's answer to Dr. Benji. It's that trucking football manager. You're on a bit of a creator break at the minute with a fairly big life-changing event coming in the next few weeks. Looking
pretty
forward
much,
to
yeah. What Bood said, but a few years earlier. The nappies begin in a few weeks. So, figured it got to the point where I stepped away. I've been forcing through episodes and I feel myself like the quality's dropping down. And I looked at it and went, you know what? It's going to be easier for me to just take a step away, sort myself out, and then really want to get back into it rather than where I am at the minute, which is a bit, if I have to. And that's not the right way to go about. I didn't realize I had a former Berliner Dynamo manager in the chat. I might have to leave for reasons of a conflict of interest. We relegated them last year, so it's fine.
I think Bood was teasing with a Dynamo idea as well, if I'm not mistaken. I might be thinking of someone else, but is that correct?
Yeah, I did. What did I do? I did the team. I did something similar because I did.
Was it Dresden you did?
No, I did Hansa Rostock. Because Hansa Rostock was the last team to win the East League, and then they joined with the Bundesliga. So there was that 1 year you had 2 German teams in the old European Cup because you had the West German and East German, and I just took them on because they were the last. I did think about your team, but they were dead dodgy, weren't they? Didn't they have?
They were in the past. Yeah, they were very corrupt.
Like the head of the, I don't know, like the Communist Party. He owned them, and he did something dodgy with them, didn't he? So I did think about them.
This says a lot about the amount of research you guys put in versus I just picked the one with the funky name. Because, I thought Tasmania Berlin, that's a cracking name. I like that. We'll go with that.
Wasn't there Tennis Berlin or something?
There's Tennis Borussia Berlin down there as well, yeah.
They're in the wrong sport.
A friend of mine did a little mini-series with Berlin United, a really small team. When I first saw your series, I thought that was it, but then I had to look into it and you're not doing them. Have you heard of Berlin United?
Yeah, very, very even lower level than us. I've played them in a morale-boosting friendly.
10-0, was it?
No. In an allegedly morale-boosting friendly.
Right.
I think it was 3-1 or something like that. It wasn't good.
I'm clearly the odd one out because I've not done a save in Germany since I've been.
I love German football.
German football is fun.
Though I think the year before I started creating, I did do a Dynamo Dresden save, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But,
I've done a few of them offline. They're a great team, them, yeah.
Right, and so today we're going to be talking a little bit about being successful in lower league management. And as you guys have already been talking about, you guys have had a fair amount of success in the lower leagues of Germany by the sound of it. So let's just kind of run through our sort of collective CVs and see how why we're all here. Because I've picked you guys mainly because you are either have had some lower league management saves in the past, or have got a huge amount of experience in it all over the shop. So, Bood, what's your sort of experience in lower league management? What are your big success stories?
Most of my custom series. Last year I did a German one. I do like pretend teams really, but I've always started lower league England mainly, and then take teams. It's not real, is it? But the amount of times I've took a team from the bottom to the bloody Premier League title, but I do love doing that. So I've done it quite a few times on custom series and a few offline saves. But I do enjoy it. I love that long story out, that building from nothing to when you've got a stadium named after you and all that. I love all that. So I get a lot of joy out of it.
And you tend to do them quite a lot around the Manchester area, creating clubs around the Manchester area. Is that just because you live there and you get a little bit more out of it?
I suppose. I mean, I did Manchester Central, but that was based on a real team that used to exist in the 20s. I did that on FM 18. And then I did Denton Villa, but that was based on a team that I played for as a kid. And then now I'm doing a team that's just totally made up, based around 4 teams coming together, but in my borough where I live in Greater Manchester. So yeah, it just happens to be round here, so it's just easier. So I just enjoy it.
Nice. Now, TTFM, I guess, I mean, thinking about your lower league management saves, the San Marino Calcio thing comes to mind, at least from in my head. What are your sort of highlights and what's your sort of lower league management CV look like?
It's very similar, to be fair. I spend a lot. I used to spend before I nearly said became big. That's the wrong reason entirely. Before I started doing this, I did spend a lot of time. Basically, lower league journeyman was my thing. It's what I enjoyed doing. Start unemployed, work your way up. I've done a few build up for club saves, but I'm much more of a build up for the manager kind of thing, because that to me does feel more realistic. As Boog was saying, it's very much. It does feel a bit fake when you've gotten Hales Owen into the Premier League, and it's like, are you sure about that? But when you build a manager up through those levels, it feels a bit more real to me, which is why I do that a lot. But I spend a lot of time Conference North, Conference South, and then like you say, last year with CC San Marino, and this year with Tasmania Berlin. And the one that also sticks out in terms of truly lower level management is from the FM19 journeyman with 4 seasons trapped at Tobermoor United in the Northern Irish Third Division. That was interesting when you've literally not got a wage budget. That's we'll get on to that, because I think that's a whole skill in itself, trying to make that sort of thing work. And ABomb, what about you? I guess you've done a fair few. Well, last year was a journeyman, wasn't it? That you sort of did, and in the MLS. But it was the year prior to that you did your Berlin save, which was, as you say, sort of going from fairly low down.
Yeah, FM19 was my BFC Dynamo save. Last year I did a journeyman that fell flat on its arse, and I did Nashville in the MLS, which was my first journeyman ever and my first MLS save ever. So 2020 was just a learning experience for me. But as far as FM19 goes, BFC Dynamo was the series that I did, starting in Tier 4. And before that as well, I've had series where I've started much lower down, like FM18. I was in the National League with Maidstone, the nearest side to me that was manageable in Football Manager, because I live in Kent. And then like going back even further, because I've been doing this for 6 years now. Like I'm probably one of the younger ones here, but I've probably been doing content about as long or longer. But back on FM16, I managed Parma way back when they got relegated back to Serie D. So I've had a sort of mixture of like established teams in like the top tier and teams that are much lower down in like Tier 3 or Tier 4 or non-league in the case of Maidstone. So I've had sort of 2 or 3 different saves regarding lower league management.
Nice. Okay, so I think some good CVs there. For once, I can actually say I've got a little bit of experience in this area, because I did my save with Gottner in the lower leagues in Sweden last year, where I took them from the bottom of the lowest playable league in Sweden all the way to the I got them as far as second, although that save is supposedly still going on, but I'm not necessarily going to continue. It just takes too long. I love the lower league management saves as well. So hopefully I'll be able to add a little bit into this discussion. Right then, so let's think a little bit about what I wanted to get on to first of all was choosing a club, because I think that's quite a tricky thing to get right, as we've already had a little bit of a discussion about relating to some of the Berlin sides that you guys have picked. I guess choosing a club might be a bit different depending on whether you're doing a YouTube save or a personal save. But what are the factors that influence you guys in choosing your clubs, probably specifically for a YouTube save?
Story. I like a story, me. I like having I do like, because I do a rebuild series, and I do like taking teams that have been good and have now gone down back to the top. Like I did Palermo last year. That was one of my favourite saves. I ended up signing Wayne Rooney. I think I was in Tier 3. He started in Tier 4 and had him in Tier 3, and he was a beast, like 35 years old. And I absolutely loved that, taking him back to Serie A. then when you get back up there with them, I enjoy it. I hate being up there straight away with like a United or something, but taking that team back up, so enjoyable. I loved it. Having nothing. So I do like a story. I don't mind if they're a tiny club, as long as they've got something about them or a cool name, like Mr. Trucker said. You know what I mean?
Does anyone else want to take that?
I have to say, I don't choose in usually quite the same way. Often for me, if I'm in lower league management, it's a journeyman situation. So why have I chosen them? Because they'll hire me. Is often the reason why I've chosen
them. Again, I think the same thing as Bood is that I was looking for a story. So with Berlin, I'd booked a trip to go there before. And then I was reading up about clubs in Berlin, like Hertha, which you can see I've got a scarf of that there. But also, like a team like BSC Dynamo that were so corrupt and so disliked in the 80s that won so much and then fell down the leagues once East Germany was reunified. But then another thing is geography. So with Maidstone, I picked Maidstone because they were the closest team to me. So mainly I look for a story with my series, but I say in that one case, it was more to do with location and geography.
So does the story stop you getting bored? Because I guess one of the things you're trying to avoid is getting about 4 seasons in and just dump the save because you're bored of it.
Yeah, I mean, it drives you, I think, because then you've got an end goal, like getting Palermo back to the top. Because the part of the thing I talked about was they used to have, I think they had Cavani, they had Dybala, so they had these top class players, and they found themselves in tier 4 with this stadium and nothing. So that drives me on, because you can get bored on a long term save. You need something to keep you going, especially for YouTube, because if you do get bored, it shows and then it don't work. You know what I mean? You've got to have that drive and passion for it, or you're faking it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I guess with YouTube, you've got to keep it progressing as well. If you get stuck in a league, that can be a bit difficult for the views. I mean, I guess in lower leagues, and we'll maybe touch on this, it seems to be somewhat easier to make progress when you're a little bit further down, and then it becomes more and more hard when the attributes become higher and higher, and the difference between the leagues becomes more and more.
I think
there definitely comes a point. Sorry, Bud, you go.
No, go on. You're all right.
There certainly comes a point, especially in more recent FMs, where your reputation is what's holding you back. If you shoot up the leagues too far, and this is something you could do a lot more in previous games, that you could just go up and up and up and up and up and sign the better player and go up again, sign the better player and go up again. But I noticed it with San Marino, and I'm noticing it a lot with Tasmania, that the reputation has such a big effect on whether you can actually improve the squad. I'm really struggling to improve the Tasmania squad because players won't sign for me. And some of them are choosing to go to the division below to a more reputable club than to me because the reputation won't go up as fast. And that's a new challenge for the very low level of football in the last 2 FMs, I reckon. That wasn't there before.
And considering people...
You want a challenge, don't you? You want it to be harder.
Well, do you think it is harder this time round? Because there's a lot of people saying FM 21's easy.
I don't know. I mean, in my current series, I went up. I think I went up second. My second season, I've had my first ever invincible season, or my second ever. My last one was with Man United, so don't count that. But then I've gone up into the national, and I have noticed it's not been as easy. I've flown, like you said, in all the games, I've flown through them leagues dead easy. And I've hit like a bit of a wall. Ended up just getting in the playoffs, and it's definitely. I found it a bit tougher. So, but I like that. I want that. I don't want to fly through it. I don't want to win every game.
Yeah,
I want it to be a bit more realistic. It's still unrealistic. You're never going to take. I mean, I've took Curzon Ashton. Do you know who they are?
Yeah.
That won't happen. They've got like 12 fans. They're never going to. It's unrealistic. But I love it. But yeah.
Yeah, I found I've definitely hit a wall with Tasmania that. Again, in my videos, I will often moan and bitch and complain about the update is what did it. But there was a point where I started a season and I was unbeaten in 12, having won 10 of them, and then suddenly I was losing everything and I just couldn't. And I haven't recovered from that a season and a half later.
You've reminded me of something. I have this conspiracy, and I'd like to ask all 3 of you. And I think it's still happening on this game, right? The other night, I'd won 9, drawn 1, turned it off. went to bed, blah, blah, blah. Got up the next day, played 5 games, lost them all, turned it off.
100% yes.
Turned it back on, won 8. And I'm thinking,
100% yes.
It happens, doesn't it?
Yep.
You save
100%
it,
yes.
form goes right out the window.
Never turn it off when you're winning. Never turn it off when you're winning because it'll happen.
Just keep playing. That's why I used to play till 3 in the morning.
I've got to say, I thought that was it's happening less in this version than last version. I found that all the time last version. I would just keep my laptop on throughout 2 or 3 days until I get back to playing it. But this time round, I am able to turn it off, and it's more consistent. Maybe that's because my tactics are more solid. I don't know. But
it's more consistent for me, but that's because I'm not winning no matter what I do. So, it's fine.
Consistently losing.
Yeah, the dots remain red no matter what I do with the program. I can uninstall it; it will still be red, the dots.
Right, I guess one of the other things, one of the important things once you've found a club is to try and get a tactic that suits your players that you have. And one of the things I hear all the time, or we've certainly used to hear, is that if you're doing a lower league save, you just want to be doing a 4-4-2, hardly any team instructions, keep it as simple as possible. Do you guys agree with that?
Half of it. I'll try and get a tactic that fits the squad I've got, because you're not really going to be able to make many changes, but I do keep tactics simple. And as I rise through the leagues, I add to it, because I know it's only a game, but the way I've always thought of it is they're not technically gifted. They ain't got vision. They ain't got all these things that you'd be asking Bruno Fernandes to do. So I just think if you keep it simple, and I seem to have more success when I do, but that's just me personally. I don't go for the fancy tactic, but I don't go for 4-4-2. I can still play with my formation, but I do keep it simple.
Yeah, I think you're building your own tactic during the time as well. So it's more about you building on what you've got at the start. So you'll get your players, and you'll see like a 4-2-3-1 will suit, and then it's just about adding the instructions, removing the ones that don't work. So it's very much you building your own tactic in the early stages, as well as the players learning it as you move up the leagues.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I can't ever say I'm doing 4-4-2, because usually you'll say I'm doing 4-4-2 and then find out you have 0 right midfielders and nothing you can do about that.
You don't find many anymore, do you?
No, you don't.
Everyone's an inside forward or a winger or whatever.
Every left winger I've ever signed has got a right foot. It's bizarre, but but no, you'll look at your squad and you'll go, hang on a minute, I've got a player who's a 5-star centre halfback or something. You go, right, well, I need to use a halfback then, because at the lower levels of football, especially if you're first starting the game, you will have 3 or 4 players that are far too good for your club. And you have to play them no matter where they play. No matter if one of them's a trequartista, you have to play him, or you're completely wasting him.
So, talking about that, do you ever find when you do a lower, do you know when the computer will give you a couple of extra regens, it'll pack out your squad a little bit? Sometimes it gives you a player and you think, he's well too good. Do you ever get that? Yeah. I don't complain. No. Sometimes I think the game just helps you along, I think sometimes.
I think there's a lot more of the 0 attribute. I noticed one thing that I think there's a lot more 0 attributes this year than there were before. I don't know if you've messed with the editor, you know that if you put a 0 in the attribute field, it will pick a random number from 1 to 20. Mm. So there was a player on Loki's save, Vince Duets, and he was in Loki's beta save. Sorry.
Yeah.
And he was amazing, and he was quick, and he was in 20 determination, and he played brilliantly for him. And at the time, I happened to be doing a director of football save of Ajax, and I went off and looked for Vince Duets, and he was determination 3, and he was hopeless. So I think there are a lot more than they'd like to admit 0 attributes floating around the game.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think that there could be a lot of 0 attributes floating around the game that you don't know.
So I personally, I think if I bought Bob Smith and you bought Bob Smith would be the exact same player, but you're saying at the lowest levels, my Bob could be different than your Bob. Right.
Yeah. Well, my Vince Duets was definitely different to Loki's Vince Duets.
Right.
Because, like I say, he had a 20 determination, I had a 3.
That might be right, because I did West Brom, and I mean in the Premier League, but I picked him because they're like first to go down, and I had Carlin Grant. He won the Golden Boot in the Premier League for me, and he won the European Golden Boot. And then someone else said he's shit, and I'm like, well, he's not shit for me, and I've not done anything fancy. So,
my beta save was a West Brom Sir Alex Ferguson challenge, and I had Carlin Grant, and he was bang average. He wasn't terrible, but he was not amazing. He was not amazing.
And he doesn't even look good, but he was an absolute worldie.
But that could, again, with Carlin Grant, that could just be because you're using him better than I was, or than the other guy was. Because at that level, it does matter so much more how you're using the player rather than just.
But you think with the lower levels, they're just
squad.
going, "Oh, sod it, I can't be bothered," and people might not notice. Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is, because some of it's going to be a lack of research. If you don't know who Vince Dewitt even is, he's a 16-year-old kid who plays, I think, for AZ reserves. I might be wrong about that. And you're not going to have a complete list of attributes about the player, and things like determination. Maybe it is fairer to just put a 0 in, and one day, sometimes he's a world-class player, and sometimes he's not.
I mean, you expect to see that an awful lot then in the very low levels of football. I mean, I haven't done the sort of a level 10 database, but presumably you'd get that a whole load.
Level 10 databases don't tend to come with a lot of real players. You tend to come with
regens in it.
You'll find 2 or 3 players that you've heard of. Well, there's 2 or 3 players I know who play for Taunton Town when I managed them a few years ago.
Yeah.
But literally 2 or 3, and then everything else will be generated in for you.
Because level 10 is made by someone else, and they've not put that level of detail in, have they?
No. But you'll get the player that used to, like in the case of Taunton, it was 3 players who used to play for Argyle, and the game has remembered where they now are.
Right.
But that's all the information you've got on them.
Right. What about opposition instructions at the low level? I know ABomb, you're a big fan of opposition instructions, and you were saying in one of your last videos that reason you lost the games because you forgot to use them.
It's something that I tend to leave to my assistant, the opposition instructions. So before you get to a game, there'll be things to say like, "Oh, this is the team you should pick, and you should go harder on this player or that player." And that one game, and it was against Southampton, I didn't click set opposition instructions, and I lost 4-1. So opposition instructions are something that I tend to leave to my assistant manager. But other stuff, training, I'll have a play with now and then. But for a lot of the stuff I'll do myself. But training, I tend to leave sometimes. And opposition instructions, I'll leave to my assistant manager, or my arse man, as I like to call him.
Yeah, I mean that the new one you get before game, you get that whole like bit of news off your assistant. He says, "Do this, change that, do that." I ignore that because I'm getting told, go defensive, go cautious. Yeah. We're doing really well, and I'm going attacking and ignoring. So
I ignore that one. The one when it says go defensive, I'll be against like Liverpool away, and it'll be like very defensive. I'll be like, okay, we probably should try and sit back a bit.
Yeah.
But then, like at the same time, you're bored of saying play attacking football. I'm away against Liverpool, and they want attacking football. I'm like, what do you want from me?
I found it contradictory sometimes as well, because you get the suggested team sheet 3 days before the match, and it makes a load of changes and says you should put this guy in there and this guy there and that guy there. And sometimes if I'm just rushing through it, I will hit do it just to see what the damage is. And then you get to the next screen, you get to the pre-match screen, and it's telling you to put it all back the way it was. It's like, and I've got a real problem with, I mean, I don't know if my assistant manager and my right back are having an affair or what, but he's hopeless. And his average rating for the season is 6.0. And every single match is you need to be playing that guy at right back. He's too good to be left out. You need to play that guy at right back. He's hopeless.
All your right backs hopeless.
Yes, but this one in particular. I'm thinking of the one who I got rid of last year, whose name has already escaped me. Not Cantor, the one before. But there is also, you guys, while you're all here, have you guys got problems with fullbacks? Because I haven't found a decent fullback in.
Do you know what? I'm getting assisting a lot. I don't know if it's my tactic. I'm not doing. I'm playing as wing backs. I'm in the national. I've got them setting up like 10 goals apiece. But I don't know if that's just my tactic. But average rating wise, okay.
My average ratings have been shocking for fullbacks.
I think FM have just patched that like a couple of days ago. Because they did say that there was a problem with average ratings. Because my left back, I had Zinchenko on loan, he was getting 6.3 in his last 5 games. But I think they said they have patched that in a update like a day or 2 ago.
All right, so one of my
maybe Cantor's not as bad as all that. That's good.
I've heard that the defenders aren't getting I don't know, I've not noticed. But someone's saying that average ratings on central defenders has gone down since the last update. But I've not noticed that. I mean, I'm noticing my central midfielders, I'm struggling with that. But scoring goals, no matter what I'm playing, whatever tactic I'm playing on this year's game, my main striker is scoring goals and is either the top league in goal scorer in the league, either in the Prem or the National, or I think I started at level 8. I'm just scoring goals for fun and I don't know why. But a few people have said that as well, that it seems easy to score goals. But everyone's got a conspiracy theory with this game.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of. I mean, I'm getting quite a lot of big scoring games. A lot of sort of like 5-3s, and I mean, I saw Bobby G had put something up on Twitter. It was like a 6-8 or something like that. So I think
I saw that.
Yeah, I think I've seen that too. Yeah.
Wow.
So they are, coming in thick and fast. I guess let's move on to transfers and how you sort of go about transfers. I mean, one of the things that TTFM you were talking about was dealing with being an amateur club, where you've got no, or a semi-pro club where you've got sort of no wage budget. You're trying to sort of eke out a little bit. What I have found with that is you can have your non-contract players, which are kind of useful, but then get poached off you very quickly, but you can poach off everyone else. But then you've got the sort of the guys who are on very low wages, but then they have the sort of secret goal bonuses and things like that. Well, not secret, but the things you forget about, which also add on to the wage budget. And last year I had awful trouble where I thought, right, I'll sign this guy and this guy to try and get myself up to a certain get up to the wage bill, and then I found I was well over the wage bill because I put all these goal bonuses and things in. So how have you found that? What do you do to balance the books and keep your board happy around transfers?
The easiest thing to forget is, like you say, is that an appearance fee is coming out of your wage budget, and the goal bonus is coming out of your wage budget. And quite often you'll find that if it's a player you plan on playing at least half the season, you are better off having him on a contract, because a player who's got a £120 appearance fee will probably sign a £20 a week contract. And if you're playing them and paying that £120 a week, £120 appearance fee, then your wage budget is in worse shape than it was with the cheap wages. The biggest thing I found in terms of signing players and looking at them is that, again, I think very realistically, two very similar players might have wildly different wage requirements. And you do have to, trials are vital for this. You can get players in. And if you look at three right backs who are basically the same player, they might as well be the same player. One of them will ask for 50 quid, one of them will ask for 150, and one of them will ask for 450. And you could really find that if you're not careful, you can go, I really need that right back, sign. And then the next week discover you could have signed one for literally a tenth of the wages. So be careful is the best advice. Like, take your time. Just because he's available now, it doesn't mean you have to sign him now, is the best advice when it comes to non-contract for me, or for lower league for me.
Patience is important until you're getting close to the start of the season and the window, and then you think, oh crap, bring them all in.
Yeah, but when you get to that stage in the season and you can panic buy, it's easier when you've got 1,000 left in a wage budget than when you've got 200.
Yeah,
so panic buy later.
What about scouting? Because I find that's last year I found I'd used my scouting budget after about a month in, and I thought, oh crap, what do I do now? What do you guys do about scouting in the low leagues?
It just depends where I am. I mean, if I'm in the lower league, I do a lot of it myself, but I'll scout my league, and then I'll scout the league below me. I'll just keep it really simple, especially if I'm in like the Vanarama North. You're not going to be scouting. I've tried it where I've set up, like I've had Wales running and Ireland running, and now and again, I don't know if it's just me personally, I might find the odd little gem, but I never get nothing from that really, and they don't want to sign for me anyway. And I always find if I just scout my league and know what's coming around, scout the league below me, and then as it's getting towards the end of the year, say if I know I'm going to possibly go up, I'll start looking at who might come down. And I've done that a lot. When I go up, I poach off who's gone down. I do stuff like that, mate. I just look around where I am, be realistic with it, but I find the odd little gem.
But you use trials as well? Just bring in...
No, I don't know. I've never really bothered with it, to be fair. Because I loan a lot. I do a lot of loaning. I've done that in the past. I tend to find that's quite good, especially as you get higher up. You can still get some decent ones. But yeah, I tend to loan and get frees if I can.
Well, I find with loan...
It's funny because with Tasmania, I found myself the exact opposite, where I am struggling to find anyone who's worth loaning in. But there's players constantly appearing in the scouting centre just, hey, I haven't got a club, offer a trial. It's quicker and more accurate to offer a trial than it is to scout someone.
As a question,
it's an individual.
you know this new feature? The when they have like a transfer meeting, and you have to talk with the board and your assistant, and they say, right, we think these areas need sorting out, and they give you some. Have you got anything from that yet? Or have you got bored of it?
No, I have gotten some things from that. I find it's, especially when I can't afford a scouting budget at all, usually, or I can afford a minimal scouting budget. I found that that's a way of populating the scouting centre with suggestions that would not otherwise have come in. And in some cases, it's then been a case of offer trial, sign. So I have gotten some players out. Not many, but I have gotten, I believe my starting right winger came from that, and he's probably the best player in the squad at the minute. But I don't know how well that would work at a lower level, on a higher level rather. At a lower level, that's brilliant because it's simply a case of making these players available to you, which you wouldn't have always known about at all. At higher levels, I don't remember ever using it with West Brom.
With Palace, literally, it might be a bit of a spoiler, but literally 2 days ago, I had a centre mid that I got through the recruitment meeting and signed him up, and yeah, he looked one of the better players I've signed. A very good player. So I think they can, if you do need to, if you have got a specific area that you need to find someone, you can find the odd player like this, and you can get them to go look for months and months, and just until they, if you're looking for a goalkeeper, until they finally find something that's useful, but.
You can always also just, if you don't like that interface, you can always just accept the first screen and then on the second screen say, I like this, but I want to see it in the scouting centre. And then you get it all the old way, which I found easier.
Well, presumably you get in the scouting centre anyway, don't you?
If you reject it from the first dialogue, you don't.
Oh, really?
If you just go, I'm not interested in that meeting, you don't. But if you go accept and then on the first dialogue after you entered it, say, I prefer to see it in the scouting centre, then you'll get them all.
You see, where I'm lucky on this year's game is on my series. It's my first lower league save, and the whole point of it is I'm not signing anyone, so I'm not even bothered buying any scouts. All I'm doing is I want to develop what I've got. It's all about what comes through the academy. I sign them all. I'm trying to improve them because I don't really do team training. I do player training. I do the individual stuff. So I want to do my own players and see how far I can take them before I actually have to buy a player. So I've had 3 promotions so far, and I've got kids coming through, and I've got a 15-year-old right back that came through my academy, and I've put him straight in the team, and I'm loving that. So that's like part of the story to it. So obviously I've not really dipped my toes into really scouting at a lower level this year. But I don't think it'd be too much different.
That takes me nicely on, actually, to youth development and whether it is a possibility at lower levels. And by the sound of it, you're having quite a lot of success. I mean, I don't know if you've seen FM Lama's Kettering save, where he was trying to do a youth development challenge at Kettering. He got through the first season. It all kind of went awry after that. But he was struggling to get real quality through, and I just wonder whether you can get, with poor training facilities and less access to decent staff, whether it's even possible to generate decent youth players down there.
See, I've always found, even on older games, the lower I am, I have decent youth intakes. It's the higher I go, they get worse and worse and worse. As I get into the Football League, they go crap, and by the time I'm in the Premier League, I don't get any good ones. So I know it's all relative. So that 5-star one I've just got, the 15-year-old right back, he's not a 5-star player in the top level, but I do tend to have a couple of good ones. I've had a right winger, a left winger, and a right back come through in 3 years who all the saying could be League 1, League 2 kind of player, which is good for me. But I always find as I go up, I'm guessing it's going to be the same. It'll get worse. But and that's another thing that annoys me. I don't know if you do the same when you have a top club and you've got state-of-the-art facilities. Why am I not getting a top region every summer? I've got the best staff. I've got 20 coaches, 15 million scouts. Why am I not getting? I find that anyway. So that's why I kind of enjoy the lower levels, to seem to get players alike that seem to come through and develop. They're not world stars, but yeah, I get fun out of that. I get enjoyment out of it. So
I had that with San Marino in particular, that frustration of where are the really good players? I had state-of-the-art facilities throughout from halfway up Serie B. And from that point onwards, in terms of truly world-class players, I believe I got 3 in the following 10 seasons.
You look at the if you ever go in the tab at the top where you can look at the youth intake, the entire youth intake, and you can look at every player that's come through, and you look at and you're scouting them, you're thinking, why have they got like 3? They've got 2 wonder kids and a super little 4-star player, and I'm Man United or whatever, and it's like, what's going on? So I don't know.
Andy, what about you? You when you were in your Berlin save, did you rely at all on Wonder Kids, or was it purely signing people in? No, or youth developments, not Wonder Kids. I mean,
a lot of the Wonder Kids that I brought in were ones that didn't really come from me. So I used to sort of go through like neighboring nations in Germany. So go to teams like Switzerland, and I got a good young kid from, I think it was from St. Gallen, a centre back. And like I didn't find a great deal of players coming through my own youth ranks, and the ones that did were kind of like they were at the start and they got used, and then slowly their potential sort of went away. But yeah, as the save went on, I did find myself buying younger players more from other teams than building them up myself. So like I said, from other teams in Germany and from other countries around Germany as well. But yeah, a lot of them I think came from other teams rather than my own youth development centre.
Right. So I mean, one other thing that always seems to be, or something I always forget to do is about getting a senior affiliate when you're down there. Is that something that you think can make a big difference to you, or do you think it just kind of takes away from your own players' development?
It can make a big difference.
I think
it can make a big difference.
Yeah, I think it depends who the club is and where you are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can make a big difference from that. I have had a senior affiliate before, and honestly, I can't remember the details. But I remember having a senior. It might have been Liverpool. I'm not sure. But I had a senior affiliate who sent me 5 or 6 top first team players without me even asking. He'd be like, "We're sending this guy to you," and he was a 3.5-star centre back. And we're sending this guy to you. He's a 4-star left winger. And then I've also had senior affiliates where the only benefit you get out of it is 20 grand a season in payoffs, and that's it. There's no other benefit.
Yeah, I moaned about this last year. I think it was on a personal save, but I think I talked about it on my channel. I think it was Oldham or something. And I had Spurs, and they gave me loads. And then I did another save at a similar level. And Chelsea came, and I thought, Chelsea got loads of top young players. I couldn't get any of them. It was like all I'm getting is the money every year. Whereas with Spurs, I was getting all these fantastic youngsters coming down like League Two, and they helped me go up. So I think it depends. It must depend on the club or the players at that club.
I think it might also depend on your own club, because in the same way as when you're trying really hard to develop a player, you're going to be picky about where you loan out to. I wonder if you're a poor quality facility club and you end up shackling onto Chelsea or Spurs or whoever, they might look at you, even though you're an affiliate, and go, that's not going to improve my player as much as sending him there. Yeah, and I wonder if that's part of it. If you're actually just terrible facilities, that you're not going to get the benefits of senior affiliate. But that is a theory. I have no idea.
Do you think
that's probably right, mate? Yeah.
Do you think that's why? Because going back to that sort of loan idea again. So I mean, you were saying you were having a lot of issues actually finding loan players. That it's all to do with the sort of the club's facilities, that you just can't find loan players who actually want to come to you and work at those facilities. Because I found exactly the same thing for sort of 2 or 3 iterations of FM. That actually trying to find decent loan players when I'm all the way down there. I seem to have a lot of options from the MLS, but then nowhere that I'd actually want to loan anyone from.
And what you're saying about the MLS?
It's rubbish.
Not bringing in these Americans.
You know what? I love that. I love the country and all that, but I've done databases with it. I've even tried doing a normal save in America. It bombed. I've done a mint database that got loads of downloads on Steam, but when I made a series out of it, bombed. No, it's like no one cares. No one wants to watch it. Even when I changed the rules so there was no wage cap, still don't get any views on that stuff.
Yeah, my Montreal save last year had a very moderate reactions to it, and even then I was trying to sell it as a tutorial, as a how to understand this rubbish. Well, and even then it was 10 or 12 views, and most of those views are old lady players explaining to me the stuff I got wrong in the
Jesus. Well, I did my first ever journeyman was quite good actually. I did really well, and I went all around Europe, all around the world, in Africa, China, everything. I went to America and the views started going like that. I had one season there, pissed off. Went to Mexico and it recovered. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again.
How did your Nashville save do, Andy?
Same with trucking. It just view rate wasn't good at all, and it got like it was just so confusing because you'd get to like episode 2 and it's like, okay, you've got a draft. Now you've got another draft. Do you want this trade? No. But yeah, in terms of view-wise, it just didn't do well. And now I can say I've done it. I'm not going near it again.
Yeah, considering TTFM, it was kind of like a tutorial. I came out of that none the wiser at all. I think you did a damn good job explaining it, but my God, you get one draft, then another draft, then another draft, and then you've got allocation money, and then
contract.
What is this?
Yeah. And what exactly is the financial value of a second round draft pick in 3 years' time? And it's like you're negotiating it, and you go, "I'll give you Cincinnati's third round draft pick for the 2022 season," which I apparently have, and I'll give you that. And they go, "No," and you go, "Okay, what about my third round draft pick?" And they go, "Yeah, brilliant. First accept that. I've offered them too much, but I don't know why."
Because I'm not going to do it again, but I know that if I did do it again for like FM22, I'd just forget it all. And then I just have to learn it all over again.
The thing is, from a certain point of view, from being the dweeb who also likes games like, Capitalism and City Skylines and games like that, is like the management aspect of it I am actually really interested in. But even for me, the MLS is a stretch. I might go back into it again. I mean, one of my favourite films is Draft Day, starring Kevin Costner for the American Football Draft, and that's a brilliant
American
sports.
football. I love the NFL. I mean, I'm missing it now for this Wildcard weekend.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
I do get it with that, but I just don't think I don't think it translates into football.
The problem is in soccer. Sorry. In football, in proper football, it doesn't make as much sense. But the draft in American football and the draft in baseball is a huge thing, and the draft in football isn't. So you go, and I was building up to the draft, and I was getting through the season again. This is the draft. This is the big bit of the season, and then we got to it, and there was no one.
They're all terrible, aren't they?
Plus, I think in the NFL, if you've got the number one pick,
2.5-star player.
Yeah, in the NFL, you get the number one pick. You're getting a superstar. Even you get the 10th pick. People will give the earth for the 10th pick. But in the MLS, it's like number one pick. Who cares?
The first pick out was a 2.5-star potential player. And I was like 6th on the list. I was like, am I even going to bother doing this? I've been building up to this draft for 2 episodes and there's nothing in it. So I wonder if that's why it doesn't work, is because actually there isn't that collegiate backup. The same way as with all other American sports, where there is this absolute wealth of talent below the professional level that just doesn't exist in the MLS, I guess.
No.
Wow. Well, I wasn't actually planning to go onto MLS. I was actually thinking about doing a whole episode on MLS, so I don't need to do that anymore.
Pass. I'm ill for that one.
Don't invite me to that one.
I was actually going to go and get 3 American creators and see if they could explain it to me, so it made some sense.
Do you know what? I'd watch that.
I would absolutely watch that.
See if they could actually explain it.
Ratings through the roof.
So okay, well, I think we will leave it there. I think we've gone over a whole bunch of things, and hopefully people will get something out of this. I'm just going to ask one last question from each of you, and it's the same one. What is your one big tip for being better at lower league management? What would you suggest to someone who is absolutely crap at it? What would be that one tip? I'm not doing the question. That you guys can do it.
Keep it simple.
Going first.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Honestly, all I do, my tip is always the same at any level. Staff, even if you're in the Premier League, you got loads of options, loads of spaces, or you're down the bottom, you can have 3 coaches. It's staff. Don't ever. I've just spoke to loads of subscribers and loads of people. You probably don't do this, but who just stick with what they've got. I never do. I always straight in, sort my staff out, even if I can just improve it a little bit. If it don't cost me anything, obviously, and just if I can improve the staff a little bit, I do that. I keep my tactics quite simple. I have a smaller pitch and I make it bigger as I go up, because my theory, and I don't know if this is true, is they're all part-timers. Like my striker's a manager of the bookies, so he's not going to run around. He's not super fit. So I always think if you have a smaller pitch, you're not running as much. So that's what I do, and then I make my pitch bigger, and that's my basics.
Nice.
That's good. That's good basics. That makes sense to me. I would say at the bottom level, if you're truly at the bottom level, skill is far less important than morale. I think the most important thing, if you are 5 tiers down, if you're a part-time squad, I would say you're not going to be able to train these players to be better. You've not got the time, and your staff are very important, and that's absolutely not contradicting Boot at all, but you're not going to be able to train that player to be a better player. But what you can do is make that player believe in himself. And if that means that on Tuesday night they've got to play a friendly away at a team you can't even pronounce, then to win that game 6 or 7-0 and get a bit of belief back into them, that is actually going to do wonders for you. So keeping morale high, don't go around the dressing room with a water bottle.
My friend calls it morale FM because he's a big believer in morale. It's all about morale.
You'll notice if your form starts to drop and you notice those green arrows just start to go a little bit yellow, that's it. You're in serious trouble and you need to fix it fast.
A lot of people will just click through, especially rapid. I always try and make sure if someone's had a good game and it comes up and it says praise them, I always praise them, or randomly now and again I'll praise a good guy anyway. So morale. I missed that one.
Morale at the lowest level, morale is absolutely vital.
No, old lady players would say morale is important at every level.
Yeah. But I mean, you notice the difference a lot more. Yeah. You can tell the difference between a team that's a bit off form and a team that's a bit on form. You can go a season and finish 16th, and the following season and finish 3rd because with exactly the same team, because the players believe in themselves. And at the bottom level, there's such a small difference in quality between each team.
You're all in the same boat, aren't you? Everyone's pretty much the same. So you just got to find that edge with some morale and stuff like that. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Drivers,
just like a mixture of the two, basically. So keeping it simple, simple tactics. Again, look for those cheap transfers, look for your frees, look for your loans. When I did Dynamo, I looked for a senior affiliate as soon as I could, and I ended up with Leipzig, which was good for me. So I think try and work out where you're going to get your players. Soon as you can, keep it simple. Again, look for mentals and physicals rather than technicals. As long as they like a defender, as long as they can competently head a ball, if they're 6'3" and they're fairly strong, they should be good. But again, most of it comes from mentals.
I always look at the few little basic attributes for each position. Like a centre half, I'll look for tackling, position, marking, and a striker will be finishing, composure, off the ball. Just them. I always look for that as pace, maybe, but I don't look for you're not going to get everything. Just look for a few little things like.
Yeah. A striker with only pace and nothing else is still, if it's a 19 pace, is better than a striker with 10s across the board.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you, all three of you for coming on, and I think making this such a interesting chat. I think it was absolutely brilliant. As always, all the details of these three fine creators will be down in the description below. And I'll say massive thank you to you three guys for coming on and being the guinea pigs for this Football Manager Focus effort. So thank you very much, guys, and good luck.
Subscribe to Custard as well if you haven't.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, go. Yeah, do
100%.
So, and to all these guys also.
I'm on the other screen. I don't know where you are. I'm just doing this.
All
of them.
Subscribe to everyone.
To be honest, where you're
watch as many
you're
videos as you
off the
can.
screen.
Yeah. Quite frankly, do me last. That's the way I see it. But anyway.
Okay.
It's kind of weird that way.
Yeah, it's...
Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed that. It was an absolute blast to film that. I'm sure you can imagine. Please, first of all three of those creators would very much like you dropping over to their channels. All the links to their channels are in the description below, so you can pop over there, give them a sub if you're not already subbed to their channels, and enjoy the amazing content that they are churning out. As I said at the start, if there are subjects that you would like Football Manager Focus to drill down in particular areas, we've got a few areas lined up already in my mind at least. We're going to be putting these out probably around about every month, maybe a little bit longer than that. It just depends when I can sort of sort them out. But let me know in the comments if there are particular areas that you would like this, like us to focus on here. And if there are particular creators that you reckon would be really good for certain areas, why not pop those down in the comments as well below. Well, if you have enjoyed the episode, please show me some love. Hit that like button. If you don't want to miss anything, hit that notification bell. But I think you might have to hit that subscribe button beforehand. So why don't you do that as well? And I'll see you next time for more Football Manager Focus. Thank you very much. Goodbye.